So this movie title is a bit of a tongue twister. I'm talking about Disaster LA, the last zombie apocalypse begins here. What happened to the first zombie apocalypse? That's what I want to know. Anyway, this is a low budget 2014 zombie film, as you probably haven't guessed. And this is actually a passion project for a guy called Clay Turner, I believe his name is. And he's the driving force behind this movie. He's directed, written, produced, edited, and the visual effects for this movie. Everything bar starring it seems. And the story here actually sets up quite an interesting premise. So we see our cast gathered together somewhere in Los Angeles for some kind of party, and we sort of see on the news that there are these sort of meteors that are heading towards Los Angeles, and in the morning after this party they sort of crash into the city and causes mass destruction, as you'd probably imagine. But what actually happens on top of that is they are kind of releasing some kind of vapours that are causing people to turn into zombie-like creatures, and we have a group of these kind of friends that have gathered together to try and escape this particular issue by trying to get to the coast where they think the air will be a bit cleaner and trying to head off from there. So a group of these survivors trying to get out of the city, and on the way trying to pick up one of the group's kind of ex-girlfriends along the way. And that's pretty much the plot. So what's the film like? Well, I have to say I really enjoyed the first sort of 20 minutes or so of this film, when you kind of don't know what's going on, and I have to give props to the visual effects here, because like I said, this is a low budget film, but I actually thought the visual effects were done very well for the budget. We sort of see destruction sort of across the cityscapes. There's plenty of kind of planes and helicopters flying overhead, and it's all done to a reasonable standard, I have to say, considering the budget. So props to the kind of the visual effects for making it quite a better looking film than I was probably expecting in regards to that. And like I said, the premise is quite strong, so you're interested to find out what's going to happen to these characters until we get about a quarter of the film in, and then it just turns into your typical kind of low rent zombie film. And when we sort of the zombie makeup, I have to say the zombie makeup was a mixed bag. Considering how sort of strong the visual effects were, I was surprised that kind of the zombie makeup was kind of fairly weak in places. In some aspects it looks okay, but it kind of just looks like people are wearing masks in some instances. The main issue I have here though is logic, because there just seems to be a whole lack of it in this film, and unfortunately this guy is clearly a passionate filmmaker, but maybe scripting isn't his thing. So the issue here is that the characters in this film, I really question some of the decisions that they're making throughout the film, and it's not just one time, it's consistent. On more than multiple occasions we seem to have people deciding they kind of want to literally run head on into zombies for no real reason, and they're getting chased by some zombies, and you get one guy think, right, I'm going to try and distract them, and it doesn't, there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it, and it happens time and time again. That's just one example, and these people know that this kind of virus is an airborne virus, but no attempt is made to try and cover up using masks or anything like that. You think, well, you would at least try. You might not know how effective it's going to be. You would at least try not to sort of inhale this stuff. You're told that it's an airborne contagion, and there's no attempt to try and limit the kind of amount of stuff that you're sort of breathing in. So there's loads of these things are it's a very kind of poorly thought out story, unfortunately. Like I said, I think the guy's pretty good. His editing, all that sort of stuff, certainly his visual effects, the directional style isn't bad, but writing isn't. Maybe you should leave that to someone else. So there's lots of kind of issues like that. The other thing that kind of bugged me is the over-reliance on sound effects. Now, I've mentioned this is a low-budget film, so you don't really kind of get the kind of the wide shots of lots of kind of police and that sort of thing and emergency services going by, but there's literally constantly sirens kind of like going past and kind of helicopters flying overhead, and it's so much it's distracting. Considering when you don't see anything happen on the screen, it's just forever you've got these kind of stuff driving around and sort of flying overhead, and you do see some kind of CGI helicopters and stuff, but forever there seems to be this kind of like busy sounds around, but the streets are relatively deserted, so it doesn't kind of make sense in that respect. I think they should have dialed down the sound effects a little bit, to be honest. It ended up being distracting, and you're just sitting there listening to the sort of sound effects. Anyway, If you're expecting zombies en masse as well, you'll be disappointed, because you only ever sort of see maybe up to 3 zombies at any one time, and again, that's probably going to be for budgetary reasons more than anything else. And you know, there's some aspects that they kind of change in the sort of zombie mythology here. These are kind of fast-moving zombies, and it doesn't appear that zombie bites actually turn people into zombies. It doesn't seem to kind of look like that. I do have to question one plot point, however. It doesn't seem to make sense, the government's reaction to this, what's going on. I have to say, it seems a little too extreme. I won't tell you what it is, but the actual government's reaction to what's going on, again, seems too extreme, and that really, again, is down to a scripting issue. But like I said, this movie opens pretty strong, and the central premise is pretty good. The acting wasn't bad for the most part, but unfortunately it just falls into the kind of stereotypical generic low budget zombie fodder with severe logic issues, and that's my main gripe here. So unfortunately I'm going to have to give this movie a slightly below average. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's certainly not the worst zombie film, I have to say, and there are some positives to it, but overall I actually found it a little bit of a chore to sit through if you're looking at it as a movie from a whole. So 4 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.